Here's an uncomfortable question. When was the last time you had a genuinely great conversation? I'm not talking about small talk about the weather. I mean a conversation where you walked away feeling like you actually connected with someone. If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. And today's episode might be one of the most useful ones we've ever done. Welcome back. I'm Tara, and today we're breaking down a talk by Celeste Headlee. She spent decades as a public radio host, which means her entire career has depended on being good at exactly one thing: talking to people, on air, live, with total strangers. Her TED Talk is called 10 Ways to Have a Better Conversation, and it's been viewed tens of millions of times. And honestly, it's one of my favorite talks to teach from because it's not really about English at all. It's about connection. And connection, it turns out, is packed with brilliant vocabulary. Today, we're going to work through the talk together, pulling out great vocabulary, phrases, and idioms as we go, and defining everything. So you never need to pause and look anything up. A little quick housekeeping though: links to Headley's full talk and to my Substack, where you'll find the complete transcript and vocabulary list from today, are both down linked in the description below. Now, before we dive in, here's your listening challenge for today. Somewhere in this talk, Headley gives us two very specific numbers. One is how fast the average person speaks, and the other is how fast our brain can actually listen. Two numbers. Keep your ears open because I'm going to ask you for both of them at the end. And this one's not as easy as it sounds, so really listen closely. Headley opens with a striking image: a show of hands, asking her audience how many of them have unfriended someone on social media ever over politics, religion, or even something as small as how you raise your kids. She points to research showing we're more polarized than we've been in a long time. Polarized, today's first vocabulary word. Polarized means so strongly divided into opposing groups that there's very little common ground left in between. So she says, like, we're so polarized, it's to the point where even trivial topics can quickly devolve into an argument. Devolve into is another great phrase to know. It means it gradually gets worse and turns into something more negative or chaotic. If we think of the word evolve, evolve is to change over time, maybe to get better, whereas devolve is the opposite. You could say the friendly debate devolved into a shouting match, or without a clear plan, the meeting devolved into chaos. She even nods to an old idea from the film My Fair Lady, where the advice for a polite conversation used to be simple: stick to the weather and your health. To stick to something means to keep talking about only that one safe topic and nothing else. Her point is that even those safe topics aren't so safe anymore, which is exactly why she says we need better tools for talking to each other, not just better manners. There's one more idea worth pulling out here. Headley references a high school teacher who once wrote that conversational competence might be the single most overlooked skill we fail to teach young people. Conversational competence simply means being genuinely skilled at holding a conversation. And something overlooked is something important that gets ignored or forgotten because everyone's attention is somewhere else. It's a great line because it applies just as much to language learners. We spend so much energy on grammar rules and vocabulary lists, and comparatively little on the actual skill of talking with another human being. From there, Headley lays out 10 rules for better conversation based on her own experience as a professional interviewer. Let's go through them one by one. Rule number 1: don't multitask. Be fully present. Put the phone down. If you're half listening while scrolling, you're not really in the conversation. You're just occupying the same room as someone else. A simple way to practice this in English is next time you're chatting with someone, physically put your phone screen down. Like turn it upside down so you can't see the screen. It sounds silly, but it changes how present you feel in the moment. Rule number 2: don't pontificate. This is a fantastic word. To pontificate means to talk in a way that assumes you're already right and everyone else should just listen. It's a one-sided lecture disguised as a conversation. For example, he tends to pontificate about politics at every dinner party. Do we know anyone like that? Headley's advice: enter every conversation assuming you might learn something, not that you're there to teach. Rule number 3: use open-ended questions. An open-ended question is one that can't be answered with simple yes or no. It invites a real descriptive answer. Now, if you're one of my students listening to this, you know that I ask these kinds of questions all the time. We don't do simple yes or no. We have more to talk about than that. So, instead of did you have a good weekend, try what was the best part of your weekend? This one's especially useful for you as an English learner, by the way. Open-ended questions naturally give you more practice actually producing language instead of the one-word answers. My students out there are nodding right now. Rule number 4: go with the flow. This is a common idiom you'll hear constantly in everyday English. It means to let things happen naturally rather than forcing a situation in the exact direction you planned. For example, we didn't have a strict itinerary for the trip. We just went with the flow. In conversation, it means letting new topics arrive naturally instead of steering everything back to what you wanted to talk about. Rule number 5: if you don't know, say you don't know. Simple, but people resist it because admitting we don't know something can feel embarrassing. Headley's point is the opposite is true. There's real credibility in admitting the limits of what you know rather than guessing or bluffing your way through it. A useful related phrase: to err on the side of caution means to choose the safer, more careful option when you're unsure. In this case, choosing honesty over pretending. It's very important. Rule number 6: don't equate your experience with theirs. To equate means two things. Means to treat them as if they're the same, treating two things as if they're the same. If someone's talking about a hard day at work, that's not your cue to jump in with your own story. Every experience is individual, meaning unique to that specific person, and conversations aren't a chance to prove how much you've suffered too. How often do we hear this happening? And how often do we do it ourselves? I'm also guilty of this. Someone says, I've had a hard day, and I say, oh, me too. It's been a long one. So try not to do that. Don't equate your experience with theirs. Rule number 7, try not to repeat yourself. Headlee calls this condescending. This is a great word, meaning to speak to someone as though they're less intelligent than you. Repeating your point over and over usually reads that way, even when that's not the intention behind it. For example, talking down to a customer is condescending, even if you're trying to be helpful. So be wary of that. Try not to repeat yourself. It could come across as condescending. Rule number 8, stay out of the weeds. This is another useful idiom. The weeds here means all the small, unnecessary details, like exact dates, names, minor facts you're struggling to recall. People generally don't need this information, and getting lost trying to remember them just slows the conversation down and loses the listener's interest. Rule number 9, listen. Headlee says this is the most important rule of all. And this is where our comprehension challenge comes in. She points out that the average person speaks at around 225 words per minute, but we're capable of listening at up to 500 words per minute. That gap is exactly why our minds wander during conversations. We've got spare mental bandwidth, and it drifts off to our phone, our to-do list, anywhere but the conversation. One more useful word here. To bolster something means to support or strengthen it. And Headlee notes that a lot of us love talking because it lets us bolster our own sense of importance and control in the moment. Rule number 10, be brief. Simple as that. Brevity, meaning shortness or conciseness, keeps a conversation interesting rather than exhausting. Headlee's own summary of the whole talk in 4 words: honesty, brevity, clarity, and a healthy amount of listening. That's genuinely a wonderful checklist to carry into any conversation in any language. Now, I want to take a moment here because I think this topic matters in a way that's a little different from our usual grammar lessons. If you're learning English, I know how easy it is to believe that the goal is perfect English, perfect grammar, a huge vocabulary, no accent. But here's the truth. The people who make you feel most understood in a conversation are almost never the ones with the most flawless grammar. They're the ones who are genuinely present, who ask a real question and actually wait for the answer. The people who don't rush to talk about themselves and who listen like they mean it. That means you already have access to being a wonderful conversationalist in any language, at any level you're at right now. Confidence in a conversation doesn't come from having zero mistakes. It comes from showing up, being curious about the other person, and listening the way Headlee describes. Your English doesn't have to be perfect for someone to feel truly heard by you. And that, honestly, might be the most valuable thing you can take from today's episode. So here's what I really want you to walk away with. The next time you're nervous about a conversation in English, stop thinking about grammar that you might get wrong and start thinking about the person that's in front of you. Ask them something real. Actually listen to the answer. That's it. That's the whole skill. And it's one you can practice starting today in any language that you speak. Now, before we wrap up, here's a small challenge. Pick just one of the 10 rules we covered today. Maybe it's use open-ended questions, or maybe it's stay out of the weeds. And try it deliberately in one English conversation this week, even a short one. You don't need to master all 10 at once. Come back and tell me in the comments which one you picked and let me know how it went. Let's run back through everything we picked up today. We had the word polarized, strongly divided into opposing groups. Devolved into, to gradually worsen into something negative. Stick to a topic, to keep talking about only one safe subject. Conversational competence, genuine skill at holding a conversation. Overlooked, important but ignored or forgotten. To pontificate, to lecture in a one-sided, self-important way. Open-ended question, a question that invites more than a yes or no answer. Go with the flow, to let things happen naturally. Err on the side of caution, to choose the safer, more careful option. To equate, to treat two things as the same. Individual experience, unique to one person. Condescending, speaking as if someone is less intelligent than you. Stay out of the weeds. Avoid getting lost in unnecessary detail. To bolster, to support or strengthen. Brevity, shortness, conciseness. Now, remember our listening comprehension question we had before? Did you catch those two numbers? So the answer is the average person speaks at about 225 words per minute, but we can listen at up to 500 words per minute. And this fact is interesting and important because that gap is why our minds drift and wander even when we're trying to pay attention in conversation. And now you know the exact numbers behind it. So, links to Headlee's full talk and to the complete transcript and vocabulary list on my Substack, both of those are below. So go grab those if you want to review today's words and writing, if you want to listen to Headlee's talk from beginning to end. I recommend it. It's a great one. And if this episode helped you, please hit like, subscribe so you catch next week's episode, and share it with a friend who could use better conversations too, in English or otherwise. And down in the comments, tell me, which of these 10 rules do you think you're worst at breaking? And let me know what you tried this week and how it went. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, English has no borders, and I'll see you in the next one.